missed last week's game due to that lingering knee injury, said today that he expects to play on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. Might be wearing a brace while he's out there, but does think that he will be playing this week, matched with Tony Pollard again. Obviously, Dallas would like to have him back, and it looks like right now it will.
Good stuff there, Shefty, and more to come from Shefty throughout the show, including a big Eagles free agent signing. From the Cowboys to the team they play on Sunday, the Vikings, who haven't used pre-snap motion a whole lot this season. When they have, it's greatly benefited Kirk Cousins. With the use of motion, Cousins' QBR increases by over 15 points, throwing 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, compared to 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions without the use of motion. Cousins ranks in the top 10 in league QBR and first down per pass attempt with the use of motion this season. So, Dan, I know you love to harp on the impact of motion. What makes their use of motion so successful?
They do it really well for information in situational football. You know, down in the red zone, third downs, when they're trying to tell the quarterback and everybody, hey, they're in man or they're in zone. Go back to Buffalo this past week, and they split out Dalvin Cook. He's matched by a linebacker. Everybody realizes man coverage. Now Thielen's going to widen release. The bunch up top is going to run right down towards the bottom of the screen to get in traffic for that linebacker. Dalvin pressure steps out one step. That floats the linebacker. Bang, 3rd and 6 becomes an easy walk-in conversion on 3rd down. Another 3rd down a little bit, actually 4th down later in that game. Hawkinson's outside. He's matched by a corner. Now he goes inside of the bunch. They're just going to play cover 2. Everyone knows it's zone. In between the corner and the hook defender is exactly where you want to sit. That's the weakness. Bang, ball comes out of Kirk Cousins' hands. 4th and 6, a big conversion. So they're using that pre-snap information to figure out, okay, defense, what are you in? Is it man, zone? And then everybody else in the offense is paying attention to it as well. And if it's man, they know exactly, do we have a concept that's a man beater, or is there a matchup that we like more? And then if it's zone, it's like, where's the weakness in the zone? And the ball comes out really quickly. I think that's a huge challenge for Dallas, specifically with some of the injuries that they're dealing with in their secondary. Dallas has got to know that Minnesota is going to know what you're in those situational football moments. And how do they handle it? How do they counter it is going to be a big key to their game defensively.
And that's the beauty of the West Coast style offense is you got man and zone beaters, and it tells, like Dan says, the information to the quarterback and the rest of the team.
All right, so Swagoo, let's talk about Justin Jefferson specifically. And other than a prayer starting right now and going all the way until kickoff comes Sunday, what can Dallas do to try to slow down who looks like right now the best wide receiver in the NFL?
Yeah, look, we come on here and we try to figure out ways and nuances, and obviously it's a longer conversation when we start talking about defenses and coverages. But I'm letting Trevon Diggs follow Justin Jefferson the entire game. I don't care if he in the slot. I don't care if he motioning over. You have him. This is one of those situations where you have to tell your top corner, the only way we have a chance at getting this done defensively is you go out and be great. This is a personal challenge to number 7. And I know formations. I know putting Jefferson in the slot. I know putting him off the ball. It makes all of those things harder. And I'm not saying send him out there with no help. But the bottom line is this. When Justin Jefferson is in the area with the football, number 7 needs to be somewhere around it. Now, there's nuance to defense, and we can talk about plans and schemes and what type of coverages you should play. This is one of those where when I was playing, you would have guys that just said, look, man, you got to lock up this week. And that's what Trevon Diggs is going to have to do with Justin Jefferson if Dallas is going to have a chance defensively.
If I'm a betting man, everything Swaggo is saying is probably what's going to take place with Dan Quinn. If you go back to his Seattle days, you think about Browner and Sherman, they followed, okay? They didn't always play man-to-man when they followed. They mixed up the coverages, and that's what you have to do. You have to be confusing with a guy like Jefferson. Make him think, okay, I'm impressed, then I might bail on certain down and distances depending on the area of the field. Maybe Hooker slides over the top a little bit. Maybe Kearse plays around in that area a little bit. But you don't want to just give him free access and allow him to run the route tree and do the things that he was able to do against Buffalo. And they're smart enough to know that. But he is right. If Diggs is supposed to be that guy, this is the time to show everybody.
Hey, I'm letting you know right now, if you guys want to do that, I'm going to have a field day, okay? I get your premise, Marcus.
Well, we know, you get weak in other areas, absolutely.
But if this was 3 weeks ago.
But you're probably going to lose there anyway.
But if this was 3 weeks ago and you still had the health in your secondary, we're having a different conversation. But I think if you move Trayvon in, then we're taking like a rookie nickel and moving him outside, or Kelvin Joseph's going to have to play big time. But I get your point. That's why Minnesota's so dangerous.
Well, maybe you don't move him inside. Whenever he goes inside, we double him up.
If situational football, like third down, and I'm with you.
Okay.
But
all right.
I think that's where Minnesota's got so many people that they can throw at Dallas's defense.
We have disagreement, so it seems like my plan works best. Just start praying right now, Dallas. You got 3 days.
Have been making their rounds through the NFC North. In Week 7, Dallas picked off Jared Goff twice on their way to a 24-6 win in Dak Prescott's first game back from injury. Very next week, Dallas hung 49 on the Bears, won by 20. Dak threw 2 TD passes. Tony Pollard ran for a $131, found the end zone 3 times. And that luck ran out in Lambeau. Dak and the Cowboys blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead and lost in overtime for the first time in 196 tries. Here's Mike McCarthy.
I mean, I see him every day. Dak Prescott is, I think his best days are ahead of him. And, I'm excited to work with him every day, what he brings to the table. So, he's our quarterback, and I get the evaluation that we have to go through, but I have zero concerns for him.
All right, let's bring in Ed Werder, who's down at the Star in Frisco covering the Cowboys, of course. Ed, we just heard McCarthy on his quarterback. What's the Cowboys' level of concern with Dak's play recently?
I would say they're minimally concerned. You have to keep in mind that with the front office trading number 1 receiver Amari Cooper in the offseason and failing to replace him, that Dak Prescott was put in a difficult situation by his own team. And criticism is especially harsh when the Cowboys lose, considering their success with backup Cooper Rush winning 4 of his 5 starts while Prescott recovered from thumb surgery. Even though the offensive production has been substantially higher in Prescott's starts, the Cowboys are only 2-2 and lost a 2-touchdown lead in Green Bay. Prescott certainly threw 2 costly interceptions, both of which the Packers converted into touchdowns. Even though neither may have been entirely his fault, Prescott finding it hard to win the benefit of the doubt. But as you heard Mike McCarthy say, he's unwavering in his support of his $40 million quarterback, saying the quarterback's best days are ahead of him, that he's still excited to work with him every day. And he finished with an unequivocal statement about Prescott, saying, he's our quarterback. I have zero concerns about him.
Yeah, it's only year 7. We should wait till at least year 15 before we expect him to win another playoff game. Listen, the Cowboys' D hasn't exactly been lighting it up lately, Ed. I guess they're running the ball more against them. What concerns are there heading into Minnesota, against that Vikings offense?
Yeah, in the estimation of Mike McCarthy, the Vikings present Dallas and the defense with 5 elite offensive skill position players, both wide receivers, the tight end, the running back, and the quarterback. And Dan Quinn's defense has allowed 200 yards rushing to its 2 most recent opponents, the Bears and the Packers. McCarthy said they expect Dalvin Cook to challenge the Cowboys' perimeter run defense right away, saying, we understand it's going to be outside zone getting off the bus. And as soon as I say that, they're going to take a shot down the field. The Cowboys... they have to win against the run on first and second down to do what they do better than any team in the league, and that's rush the passer. That's an area of emphasis for the defense this week. And Kirk Cousins has not performed well when under pressure. But, of course, the Vikings can threaten the Cowboys in the passing game in a way that maybe no other opponent has to this point. McCarthy describing Justin Jefferson as a premier player, although one limited to 2 receptions and 21 yards when the Cowboys won in Minnesota last season. And that starting quarterback, of course, in Minnesota last season for the Cowboys, Cooper Rush.
Right. Ed, I just have it. The word 2.5, the number 2.5 is in 2.5 sacks for Micah Parsons just keeps jumping to my mind. Drop back against Micah at your own peril. Thank you, Ed. Cowboys defense hasn't been great over the last few weeks, especially against the Packers. Gave up over 200 yards on the ground, allowed 3 Rodgers TD passes. Cowboys safety Jerron Kearse on his Dallas defense.
If you're not frustrated, then we got the wrong guys on this defense. If you're not mad, we got the wrong guys on this defense. And it's just all about having a sense of urgency moving forward. We're 6-3. The sky's not falling. But, everybody should be pissed off at, how we lost that game and the way things went that game.
It's Acho, you can run on Dallas. It looks like you're worried about that defense?
I am. Why? Because the NFL is a copycat league. Teams are going to see what everyone else did against the Cowboys, 207 yards last week, 240 the game before, and they're going to copy it. Minnesota is kind of average when it comes to running the ball. They average right around over 107 yards a game. The last 3 weeks, they've been running about 125 or 6 yards per game. And so they're going to run the ball on the Cowboys until the Cowboys can stop it. And yes, the Dallas Cowboys have the most sacks in the NFL, but you won't get a chance to sack at quarterback if it's 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2, and you haven't stopped them on 1st and 2nd down.
That's a good point. Ninko, the defense is one thing. What are you seeing from Dak since his return?
Well, I just see maybe a little hesitation there. 2 turnovers, we saw that last week. Maybe trying to force some things and force some plays down the field. But again, what Acho's talking about, this team has to play in all 3 phases well. The defense can't expect to be elite if they're letting up 225 yards per rush game in the last 2 weeks. That's not going to happen. That's not going to work for this team. And then offensively, they have to have a good complement of run and mixing in play action pass. Maybe with Pollard and getting Zeke back into the mix, they'll be able to run the football better than they were. But again, they were a better team when they were trying to simplify things and they didn't have Dak.
Got a little greedy, Sacho. They got a little greedy with Dak. Want to do a little too much.
The future of this team is on Dak's shoulders. If this team is a Super Bowl team, a deep playoff run team, Dak has to be a superstar. He can't be average. He has to be better than average. And right now he's playing average.
But Nico, you get it. You've been a part of defenses that have had games where they've been bad against the run. And what happens when you're bad against the run? You start peeking left and peeking right. You start trying to jump out of your gap and go and make a play. And what happens then? That makes you actually worse against the run, right? They gas you even more. And so we can talk about Dak and CeeDee Lamb and whatever you want to. The Cowboys' run defense has been bad, and it's been because, at least from the Cowboys, from Micah and all the guys who've been talking, bad technique, bad communication, guys in and out of their gaps. And that happens when you try to press and pressure too much. And so the fact of the matter is they need to get back to their technique. I've been a part of that where I'm like, man, I feel like we gave up a big run. Let me try and do a little bit extra and jump a little bit, peek inside, and now I'm the one who's at fault. That's what's happening right now in Dallas, and until that gets solved, nothing else is going to matter.
Very interesting conversation. Go ahead, Nick.
Everyone's getting caught up in the sack numbers. We're the team that we're going to get the sack numbers. We're going to be the leading sack team in the NFL. It doesn't matter. On 1st down, if you're running up the field 5 yards, you're wrong. Like, you need to set an edge, build a wall. Everyone has to work together because the front and your secondary, everyone has gap responsibility. If one guy is outside of that responsibility, that's how you have big plays.